Sunmi, you can take it away whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Welcome everyone. I'm Sunmi Jung, President of Jackson PTA. This is the first General Jackson PTA meeting of the 2020 to 21st school year. We give a special welcome to our new board member, Fran O'Connor. Welcome. We hope this will be the first of many occasions for us to join together as your Jackson and Jericho community. It is a pleasure to serve for my second year as a president at Jackson. I have two daughters. First one is Tiffany, and she's in 6th grade. And another one is Grace, and she's in 4th grade. I would like our executive board members who are present today, please introduce yourself and share the grades of your children. Let's start from Julie Becker. Julie Becker.
Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Becker. I am co-vice president. I have 3 daughters in the district. I have a 11th grade daughter, Lizzie, an 8th grade daughter, Natalie, and a 5th grade daughter, Olivia. So I'm on all the schools.
Awesome. Next is Julie Rosen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Rosen. I'm also the Jackson co-vice president with the other Julie. I have 2 children in the district. Andrew is my youngest. He's in kindergarten. And Alexandra is my oldest, and she's in 4th grade. And we're having a great start to the school year, and I hope you and your children are as well.
Okay, next is Vivian Fong.
Hi everyone, I'm Vivian. I'm the treasurer. I have 2 kids in the district. I have 7th grader Edison and a 4th grader Crystal.
Great. Susan Yu.
Hi everybody. My name is Susan Yu, and I'm the secretary for the second year, and I have 2 kids. My son is in 4th grader, and my daughter is a 2nd grader, and I have everybody enjoy 2020 to 2021. It's a tough year, but interesting, I would say.
Welcome. And Pratechi Goenka, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Pratichi. I am a mom of 2 boys. My youngest is in 1st grade on May, and my older one is in 4th grade, Adav, and they're having a great start to the year, as I hope you and your kids are as well.
Okay. Next, Una Kim. Una, can you unmute it?
Hi, my name is Una Kim. I have 3 children. First one is 6th grade, so he's so exciting. And my second one is 5th grade, and my last one is 2nd grade.
Beautiful. Next, Lee Lu.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lee. I have 2 kids in Jackson. Brian is in 2nd grade, and Ellie is in kindergarten.
Beautiful. Liz Nam.
Hello everyone, my name is Liz Nam. I have 3 children. Isabel Park, 5th grade, Mrs. Adra's class, and Henry Park in middle school, 6th grade, and also freshman Jacob Park in high school, Jericho High School. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. And our last liaison, Sajin Sun.
Hi everyone, my name is Sajin Sun. I have 2 kids. My daughter is 4th grade, Kaylin Sun, and my son is 1st grade, Harry Sun. Nice to meet you guys.
Good. Thanks, everyone. We're fortunate to have such a great support and involvement from our Board of Ed and Jericho administration. We would like to welcome the members who are here this evening. Dr. Rivera, please help me to introduce them.
Well, I would like to start by introducing our superintendent of schools, Mr. Grishman. Also, Central Administration, I see that we have Mrs. Barbara Bauer. I also see from Central, is Mr. Manuel here? I don't necessarily see him yet. But from our Assistant Superintendent of Business is Mr. Manuel. Our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel is also Dr. Chufo. Our Director of Public Relations, Ms. Denise Nash. And I'd also like to introduce my administrative colleagues throughout the district. And I do see Dr. Ivy Sherman. Want to say hello? Dr. Gately is somewhere floating around in the sea of 67 people.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Don, I was telling everyone, I tried to let you in 13 times. You finally joined.
I know. I'm happy to be here.
I see representation, the high school principal. I see Mr. Cohen, our co-principal. Mr. Cohen, is our other co-principal with us? I don't see.
Hi, Alex.
Oh, there you are, Joe. How are you? From the high school, Mr. Prizanzano. I also see joining us from Dr. Gately is Mr. Gleason here. I love the muting. This is the fun part of Zoom.
Don, you need to unmute.
He should know. Here in spirit. I think he was in the waiting room before, but we're good. Thanks.
I do see other members of our administration. I want to also introduce our Director of People Personnel Services, Mrs. Kim Conger. Hi, how are you? Also our curriculum associate, Dr. Joe Sapienza. And one of our, where is Dr. Bear, our other, who's now the assistant principal over at the high school?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Dr. Bear, how are you? Let's see, I'm keep looking through this list, see of now 68 people, and I don't believe, do I see, help me out, my fellow colleagues. I don't see anyone else who I've missed as far as who's in the room. So I think, Sunmi, I've hit all of the administrators that are here with us, and Don hit those that are with us in spirit as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Mr. Grishman, is there anything you'd like to report to our Jackson community?
Sure. I would love the opportunity. I'm also impressed, Alex, that you introduced just about everybody that's on this evening. Done well, Alex. I just a brief introduction to start with. I think that, the school year in the most challenging of times has really unfolded well, and we've started incredibly smoothly. And I want to shout out to the Jackson teachers and to the district-wide teachers, all of our teachers, for doing an incredible job in starting the school year as smoothly as they have, in being able to balance our remote kids with our AB kids in the middle school and high school, and in our elementary school, our remote kids with our live kids. Our teachers have done just an absolutely incredible job. And again, they deserve the loudest shout out possible. The administrative team and the administrators who are with us this evening, they worked literally day in and day out all summer to ensure that the opening was as smooth as it was. And again, a shout out to the administrators that are with us this evening and the ones who are with us in spirit this evening. Also, the support that we've always received from our Board of Education needs to be underlined as well. Whatever we needed to do in support of our kids, whether it was hiring staff or ordering supplies and materials that we had not yet planned to, our board was behind us 100% and ensured that we did everything that we needed. We had everything we needed to open smoothly. And also a thank you to our parent community, our PTA and our general parents who were so patient through last spring, through the summer, and supported us coming into the opening of school. So just thank yous across the board. And again, with a kind of a summary statement saying our school community is just the best of the best. We're all in it together. We know that it's, in many ways, it's a work in progress. We also know that we have challenges that we're going to face as we move ahead day by day through the school year. And we appreciate knowing that we're all working to make this as best as we possibly can and to fine tune our school year as best as we can. So with that, I wish everyone a good meeting. It's so nice to see over 70 people on this evening. Our Zoom meetings have definitely been a hit. It's so nice to again see so many people who are participating in our Zoom PTA meetings and our Zoom board meetings. And a reminder that we do have a Board of Education meeting this Thursday evening, starting at 7:15 p.m. And again, we encourage you all to please Zoom in and join us Thursday evening as well. And again, you'll hear some of the same things that I just shared with you in terms of kudos to our staff for such a smooth opening. And with that, turn it back to Alex, Sunmi, and thank you for inviting me to be with you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next, Dr. Rivera, our awesome Jackson principal. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, thank you. And in playing this game of Hollywood squares, I would like to put an X on a couple other squares here. So representing our Board of Education that I see here tonight are both Dabra Lee and Divya Balachandar, who are trustees. So I want to just give you a shout out that you wave. Dab, you are not Kim Conger, but that's okay. We have several, and Divya, you are not Kim Conger either. But, you know, piggybacking off of what Mr. Grishman had said here, I think it's really important to say it again. There has to be a lot of thanks and kudos to go around the entire room. You know, for our families at Jackson, you've gotten a chance to see some of the ins and outs from the photos, the videos we've shared, the conversations you've had with teachers. But to really provide everything that we need to open up schools and open them up safely and provide children with experiences that while they're like no other, you know, we're proud of what they're doing. So, you know, to the Board of Education and being able to say and understand what we're going through and to say yes to so much of what the requests are, you know, on behalf of the entire school community, we have to say thank you. And, you know, to you, Mr. Grishman, again, all the questions that we ask and all the needs that we have, you listen, you provide the support and the guidance that's needed. To central office, again, to all of you, I see, you know, Mrs. Bauer here, for curriculum and instruction, anything in regards to the needs of our children to learn and to be the best that they can be, no stone unturned, and you say yes to practically every request because you understand the value it has for children. You know, to Ms. Conger, who many of you know as the former principal of Jackson, but now as a director of People Personnel Services, and again, how actively involved she is in meeting the needs of all of our children and providing the resources to so many of our staff members in the building and in the district. You know, I can't say thank you enough for all of the stuff that you've done for the community, for the school, for everyone here. To all the administrators, you know, my colleagues, my personal colleagues here, many of you have grown to have friendships. Each of you has played a role in what we're doing to make this school a success. And you know, whether you're physically in the building or you're not in the building, you are a part of each building in this district. So from the staff, from the families, from the kids, I want to say thank you for everything. These first 2 weeks have gone amazingly well, and it's a testament to all the effort and hard work that each of you have put in. So to my colleagues, thank you. And just to keep, you know, these are not a few words, Sami. Obviously, these are now becoming a lot of words, but also to the staff and the teachers of Jackson. I see, you know, a number of you in this room. You know, it has been, I go back to a couple of weeks ago and the questions that were coming up and will we be safe? Will we have the resources that we need? What happens if this happens? What do we do here? You've taken those questions, you know, we've all found answers to them, but you've run with it, and you've done work in the classroom that is absolutely magical. We've done work in the building, you know, to keep social distancing a big part of what we do. We've supported each other. You know, tonight we're going to hear from the school psychologist in the district, in elementary schools. Each of them has played a truly important part, not just in supporting the children, but also in supporting fellow colleagues. You've been shoulders to lean on. So thank you for all of that. Our school nurse, you know, I can't go without saying a big thank you to all the nurses, but our school nurse, all of you know Nurse Madola. She is fantastic. She spends hours upon hours making sure that all of you are doing your daily health checks. She's making sure that our staff is doing what we have to do. So there's a lot of thank yous to go around. And I have to say, I'm probably missed somebody, but just know that I'm thinking of all of you. And again, I'm truly proud of everything that the Jackson staff has done. And the families, I can't go without saying to all of you, every email, every phone call, you've been proactive, you've been supportive, non-judgmental, you've shown your love. So it's really helped make our reopening one that I think is going to be truly memorable. It is already memorable, but we have a lot of great learning, a lot of great things to do from here on out. So thank you to all of you. And then lastly, you know, just want to say to all of our new staff, you know, you've come into, and I have some of them in the room, but you've come into a community that is absolutely caring. Their doors are open. Their hearts are open. The support is there. We've hired families. I just want you to know, we've hired a lot of new staff to support the needs of all of our kids. And they have been phenomenal. And many of you got the chance to meet the classroom teachers during Meet the Teacher Night. But we've hired other staff outside of the classroom as well. And I can tell you, as doing this now for my wow, this is my 12th year as a principal, truly impressed. And we've hired the very best throughout. So your children are in amazing hands. I have no doubt about that. And I'm truly impressed and pleased with every person we have working in the building. So on that note, I want to just say thank you to the PTA as well. You guys have been great in all the conversations we have. You look forward to all the best things that we can do for kids. You leave no stone unturned. And honestly, that's what makes this place such a great school and such a great community. So thank you to all of you. Be on the lookout for a lot of the emails and tweets and things we post on Instagram and letters and videos that we're sharing. It has been a great reopening. So I want to thank everybody for that. And again, thanks all of you tonight. We are at 75 participants. So we're going strong, hopefully going to push 80 shortly. But thank you all of you for everything. And Sunny, that's my few words in about, what, 7 minutes?
I'm fine with that. Okay, so the next one. We're happy to be joined by SEPTA this evening, as they will be presenting on the topic of dealing with stress and anxiety during COVID. I'm sure all of us as parents can relate to. Susan Haling, the president of SEPTA, thanks for coming. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I'll be quick too with it all. First off,
I'll give you 7 minutes.
Oh, okay, thanks. Thank you to everyone who came out tonight and is watching us on Zoom and participating. I remember last year, our first joint meeting, we were in the auditorium and then we played in the gym with balloons and things, and it was a wild night and it was memorable in its own right. And this year we're going to try different. Just for those who don't, I have a senior at high school and a son in college. I'm a former Jackson parent myself, and the box top lady. I miss Jackson's community, but I still get to share. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, please join Jericho SEPTA. I try at least weekly, but I've been doing more frequently with information, tips, knowledge that you all can use. Thank you to the administration, Board of Ed, our principals, our staff, and our community who's here. And I have to say thank you out to Kim Conger and her staff, who gave SEPTA a tremendous amount of support to help us get up and ready for we're hoping, a great year. And to my board, who is, I know Esther's here and a few others, thank you for coming out. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go into the presentators. We have Dr. Schwartz, Ms. Kamini, and Dr. Eisman are our school psychologists. As said, it'll be dealing with stress and anxiety during COVID, which I think we all have. So let's take it to them.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay,
You like that, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to finish our, our order of business is to vote
Sure.
on our budget, Vivian. So can you help? Where is Vivian?
I'm here, sure. All right, let me just share the file. So basically, here's an overview of 2020 and 2021 school year budget. We have a beginning balance of $67,551.23. That's lower from prior years. Anticipated income for the year is $33,980. That's mainly coming from fundraising, membership dues, and interest. So for membership dues, we anticipate about basically 100% of participation from the parents. So which Liz is going to elaborate that a little bit later on during the presentation. Anticipated expenses for the year is $55,215, and that consists of student enrichment of $34,840, parent-teacher program of $2,300, charitable activities $15,900, and administrative expenses of $2,175. Year-over-year incremental expenses of $23,269, which includes the funds of to school 7,000. Prior year's fifth grade reimbursement for their dues and basically Fun Friday reimbursements.
这个饭要等一下哈，我忘记帮你热。
Jackson shared 2,000. This year we came up with a new website, which we never had before, which is the PTA website. So that's incremental expense for the year. And we also bought a lanyard for the mask for the students. And we also add a PTA retiree recognition expenses. So basically that's a total of around 1,500 for those three. So that's pretty much the overview of the 2021 budget. Okay, I'll take, Sami, you want to take over with the motion?
Yeah, let me just go back to, can you just close this? I don't know how, can I close this one? I become, phrase. Okay, so let's just go for the next. Do I have a motion to accept the budget for the 2020 to 21st school year?
Aye.
Second?
Aye.
Beautiful. The budget is accepted as submitted. Announcement. Let's just make a quick announcement. Membership due committee chair, Lise.
Hello. I'm in charge of PTA membership this year. I want to take a moment to ask those of you who haven't signed up for the PTA, your contribution would be appreciated. And the money will go toward helping our students, like Vivian mentioned. As for those of you who are already members, thank you so much. For further information, please email me at lisnam823@gmail.com. Thank you.
Next, the photo day. Fran?
Hi, everyone. So I just want to say that I have a 10th grade daughter, Allie, and a 3rd grade daughter, Sammy. I didn't say it before, and it's been a long time since I've been on the board, and I'm very happy to be back. So for photo day, we have decided that we're going to hold off on K-4 photos until the spring, and hopefully everything will be a little bit back to normal in the spring. And for 5th grade photos, we're going to be having them, we believe, sometime in October, and I will turn it over to Julie Becker for the 5th grade photos.
Beautiful. And the book fair committee, Sajin, how's the plan?
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, about the Scholastic Book Fair, actually Scholastic gave us some of the detail of the fair options. So with Jackson PTA decided we're gonna do the online only for the safety reason. So the online fair platform will be open for the 14 days and the book will ship directly to the students' home. So our fair will run from October 19 until November 1st. So I will send more detail for the email and link and flyer. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, with that, I'll throw it over to SEPTA. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to say a few words before our presentation. Thank you to SEPTA for being a fun, active group. For those of you who are not part of SEPTA, please consider joining. Please consider being active members. We can always use more people at our table. Thank you to the SEPTA and SEPTA board. Alex, thank you for hosting us, and to me for having us at your first PTA meeting. It's been quite a year, and you know, like Dr. Rivera was saying, there's so many people to thank. He's a hard act to follow, so I'm gonna try not to follow him, but thank you to and supporting us. And you know, I was in Jackson today, as a matter of fact, and it was just so wonderful to see learning going on and happy children And just, you know, it looks a little bit different, but it's still school, and it's so wonderful to have the students back. So with that said, during the summer, our PPS department in particular, our school psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, et cetera, really talked a lot about social emotional support, social emotional learning, you know, where our kids would be at this time, what needs would families have. And Dr. Schwartz and Dr. Eisman and Ms. Cremeni spent a lot of hours working together, and they have come up with, you know, a really great presentation. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to them. Thank you everyone so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm Stacy Schwartz. I'm the school psychologist at Jackson, and I'm going to start our presentation. Just share my screen. Okay. Good. Oops, sorry about that. Ah, how do I go back? Okay.
You should see.
How do I go back?
You should see arrows at the bottom of your presentation, or hit escape. You can see hit slides. There you go.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so you know, we know that this has been a stressful time for everyone, and with the reopening of schools, you know, we're facing now some new challenges as well. So my colleagues and I are going to be speaking to you tonight about how we can deal with our own stress and anxiety as adults, and also how we can best help our children at this time. So, you know, why are we so stressed at this time? Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of possible reasons for us to be stressed at this time. Obviously, it's a pandemic. We're scared of getting sick. There's a lot of people who have already been sick with COVID, and some were lucky and quick to recover. Others, you know, really struggled, and really it was a very traumatic experience for them and their families. And there are still people who are struggling with lingering symptoms. And so, you know, there's to keep in mind, there's a lot of people in that boat too. You know, just the uncertainty that we don't know what's going to happen next. You know, since this started in March, really not sure what tomorrow will bring, and that tolerating that uncertainty really does cause a lot of anxiety. Along the same lines, that lack of control, you know, we like to be in control. We like to plan. We like to know what's coming next. And unfortunately, since this pandemic started, a lot of that is just out of our hands. Another thing we put on the list that, you know, we think is a stressor is, you know, wearing a mask. And to some people, it's just a nuisance. To some people, they've gotten used to it. But to a lot of people, it's causing a lot of stress. It's, you know, tolerating it from a sensory point of view, the feel of it on your ears, on your face, your breathing, but also socially, you know, not being able to see others' facial expressions. I know myself, I'm having trouble understanding people as well, you know, understanding what they're saying. So it's definitely an adjustment, and it's definitely, you know, for our kids coming back to school and having to wear them, and our teachers having to wear them all day long, it's definitely been an adjustment. Social isolation. So, you know, now that we're somewhat back in the world and socializing a little bit, you know, it's definitely better, but there's still a lot of social isolation going on. I mean, even for the kids back in school, it's great, but, you know, they're sitting 6 feet away from their friends. They can't hold hands with their friends. They can't play the same way. They don't really socialize with their friends in other classes. So it's still not, you know, where we'd like it to be, obviously. And for the kids at home who are doing remote learning, you know, for them too, they're feeling that social isolation, some of them, you know, just watching and seeing the other kids in school, and I'm sure it's tough for some of them. And just, you know, for us, like just that, you know, these past few days, just, you know, walking scared little kindergartners down to their room in the morning and not being able to hold their hand is just, it's tough. It's just not how we like to interact with people. And, you know, that causes a lot of stress. The loss of loved ones, obviously, you know, a lot of us have been through that, through this whole pandemic, and not being able to have our ceremonies and closure and all that has made it even more difficult. finances, a lot of people are going through financial trouble at this time, losing jobs, less money at jobs, so on. And childcare, some people have left jobs because they have to be home to care for their children on remote learning. Worrying about who's going to watch your child if they're quarantined, if you're quarantined, if you're sick, so on and so forth. Caring for elderly parents, I think, that's always a stress for a lot of us, but this just adds more to the equation because we're worrying about keeping them safe, and maybe we can't visit them, and maybe there's travel restrictions, or they're in a nursing home, or, it just adds more stress to it. And as if all of that wasn't enough to keep us all stressed out and anxious, we have the current racial issues going on in our country and the political climate. So put that all together, and we may end up looking like this woman here, who I believe is from Saturday Night Live, and I thought just sort of captured that feeling of, oh my God, there's so much going on, and how am I going to deal with all this? And I think the important thing for us to do is that, like, we really need to check ourselves. We need to not only take our temperature in the morning to see if we have fever, but we need to check our emotional temperature and make sure that our anxiety is not too high. We need to monitor our own anxiety. And really the best way, to make sure that our kids feel secure is really to deal with our own anxiety, because they're looking to us. They're looking to us as models. They're looking to us how to react in this stressful situation. How do I handle anxiety? How do I handle this? They're looking to us for guidance. And if we're like this woman here, so anxious, that's going to rub off on them. And that's certainly not good for us, and it's not good for them. So just to start with some coping skills, we're going to talk about a few different coping skills, both for adults and for children. But, we want to start off with some, using humor and creativity when possible. I mean, this is not a funny situation. This isn't a joke. This is difficult and horrible. But, sometimes seeing a funny meme, like I just showed you on the last page, or, it makes you laugh a little, and it relieves that stress. Even just that little bit sometimes helps, just putting some humor into it. And being creative. We can't do things the way that we used to, and that causes stress. But you know what? We can think out of the box, and we couldn't have a graduation ceremony like we usually do. So we had a drive-by and parade, and it was great, and it was just different, and we needed to be creative, and we need to continue that. We need to acknowledge our own emotions and emotions of others. Like, it's okay to not be okay at this point, and we can acknowledge that. We're all going through a lot, and that's okay. And, I think that we're trying to be positive, of course, but also not to be too positive that you don't acknowledge that there are serious things going on here. Like, for example, to say to your kids, like, oh, wearing a mask is so much fun. Look at these cute little masks that we got with the, yeah, maybe. But the point is that you have to acknowledge it's not so fun wearing a mask all day. But look, we got cute ones, so we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to find the best one, and so on. But I think we still need to acknowledge that this is a difficult situation for everyone, and people have different feelings and emotions about it. We need to reflect on our past accomplishments. When this started in March, I think we all thought, as a parent and as an educator, how are we going to possibly do this? And we did it. And we continue to do it, and it gets, hopefully easier. And we need to, remember that about ourselves, that we can do this. Something that as far as anxiety, these automatic negative thoughts that we get really add to our anxiety. We really need to be conscious of how we're thinking about things. Just to give you a few examples of certain types of thinking that raise anxiety, black and white thinking. All or nothing, like no grays. Like, if I don't get 100 on my test, that means I'm not smart. Like, there's no in between. It's until they find a vaccine, I can't be happy at all. It's not healthy. And it just causes us more anxiety. Watch out for things that you're saying to yourself that have shoulds and musts. That just contributes to our fear and our worry. I should exercise 4 times a week. Maybe say, like, I have a goal of exercising 4 times a week, but don't make yourself frustrated and have unrealistic expectations. Catastrophizing, is when someone doesn't consider that anything but the worst case scenario is going to happen. So, you know, I have a headache, it must be a brain tumor. You know, it's possible, but it's highly unlikely. And if that's where your brain goes to right away, obviously it's going to cause a lot more anxiety. And just as to sum up, self-care. You know, I think there's been a lot in the media during this whole time that we need to take care of ourselves. We need to get sleep and good nutrition and exercise, and we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of our kids. You know, it's sort of like I can't pour from an empty cup. You know, when the oxygen mask comes down in the plane, you put it on yourself first before you help your children. You know, we need to take care of ourselves because otherwise we're not going to be able to take care of our kids. And just one other thing that you know, self-care in the background, what I mean by that is that, you know, find things that help you calm down through the day. So whether it's like a little bit of music that you're playing in the background, whether it's your favorite quote, you know, up on your wall, whether it's a picture of your kids on your desk, but, you know, something that's gonna, in those moments of anxiety, to look at and just say, okay, you know what, bring me back here, I can do this. So to continue talking about more coping skills, I'm going to introduce Dr. Jamie Eisman from Cantiac.
Thank you so much, Dr. Schwartz. I know you're controlling the slides, so I'll just ask you when to change it, please. Okay. So really to piggyback off of what Dr. Schwartz was expressing regarding coping skills, it's also really important to keep focus on what's happening right now. A lot of what anxiety does is it brings us to worst case scenario. We can start to spiral in regard to all of the hypotheticals and what ifs, and we lose focus about what's going on in the present moment. So to help us really come back to the present moment, it's really great to be able to take advantage of mindfulness and meditation. Like Dr. Schwartz was saying, acknowledging the feelings that you have, also recognizing that feelings are temporary, they're going to come and go. And the skills of mindfulness and meditation can really help strengthen those muscles for us. Practicing positive thinking and self-efficacy, knowing that you can do hard things, that you're going to be able to problem solve. Positive thinking, again, just trying to look through not only rose-colored glasses, but being able to look at the positive side of things as well. Something that can be really helpful in a seemingly uncontrollable world is called setting a SMART goal. So a goal specifically that is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So for example, when we talk about self-care, one of the areas that Dr. Schwartz touched upon was sleeping. So let's say you wanted to create a SMART goal about sleeping. So you would make it specific. I want to make sure I'm getting 8 hours of sleep a night, which also brings us to the measurable component. It's very easy. You either got 8 hours of sleep or you didn't. Attainable and relevant. Is it a realistic goal for you? Do you actually have that time in the day to the night rather, to carve out? And time bounds. Give yourself an end point. I'm going to try this for 2 weeks and see if I can do it. When we're able to make the goals small and manageable, it makes us feel more accomplished once we're able to check that off our list, if you will. Accepting that change is part of life. You know, there are, of course, a tremendous amount of factors going on right now that are out of our control. You know, we want to be able to have a vaccine so we can quote unquote go back to normal. We don't have control over that. What we do have control over is how we respond to our safety, the safety of others. But, you know, also recognizing that with change can also come growth and learning opportunities, which is something, you know, again, looking through that positive lens, just kind of shifting your mindset a little bit. And the next coping skill is setting aside worry time. So really what that does is it trains our brain, like the muscle that it is, to give us designated time to worry about whatever is on our mind. So for example, you might want to set aside 15 to 30 minutes. It's suggested to do it in the morning or during the day, as opposed to right before you go to sleep or once you're trying to fall asleep. I'm sure we've all experienced that, where your mind is just running in so many different directions. And to physically write down, either on a piece of paper or what we call a worry journal sometimes that we use with the kids, and give yourself that time and space to worry. Interestingly, when I was doing some reading about it, they found that there tends to be like a top 10 thing that people worry about. And if you try this for about 2 to 3 weeks or so, I'd be curious to hear feedback from everyone to see if you find yourself worrying about the same things. What you want to be able to do is try and focus on the difference between thinking and worrying. So when we talk about thinking, we're really talking about reflection, analysis, something that leads to clarity and purposeful action. Whereas with worrying, there tends to be a lot of negative bias and negative attribution that we associate with it. It's repetitive, it's unproductive, it's what they call problem solving gone awry. So when you have your list of worries, really what you want to be able to do is distinguish what are worries that you can act upon that are really important right now that you can take action on, versus hypothetical worries, something that you really just don't have control over, that's occupying that mental energy that could be better focused elsewhere. And the last component, using that worry time at home rather than at work. Of course, when we're at work, we're trying our best to focus on the tasks at hand. And so when we occupy mental space for worrying, we're not able to focus as well on our jobs. Next slide, please. So really, this was a really sweet quote that we thought was relevant and applicable here. It goes back to the self-efficacy we were talking about in coping skills. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not on the branch, but on her own wings. So again, we're not in control, just like the bird isn't in control of whether the branch is going to break, but the bird can control whether it starts to fly. So we need to kind of redirect our energy back to the elements that we can control, that we can take action on to help us, again, stay safe, stay healthy, and also feel accomplished. Next slide, please. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard, this quote throughout quarantine and throughout the pandemic, that we're all in this together. Really what is important in times of crisis, such as the one that we're in right now, is to increase connectivity. Sometimes we have a tendency to kind of turn within ourselves and get lost in all our worries and fear and sadness. But when you can release that and speak with other people about it, it helps to minimize it a little bit. Leaning on each other, know who your go-to people are, reach out if you need help. It can be school personnel, it could be family members, it can be religious clergy, it can be anyone you have a relationship with, a mental health professional, things of that sort, as well as acts of kindness. So really, again, we are all in this together. And what we find is that when you do a kind action for someone else, of course it benefits the other person, but it also benefits you as well. And it kind of gives you that positive perspective that can help you take the next positive step in that moment. Next slide, please. Thank you. So now that we've talked a little bit about some ways to manage our anxiety, we're going to shift gears a little bit as Mrs. Kermeni starts on the next slide, as far as supporting our kids. But really, we thought it was important to point out some potential signs of anxiety. Now, I don't want anyone to think that someone has to have all of these bullet points in order to be anxious. Anxiety presents differently in different people. So you could have one of these symptoms, you can have a few of the symptoms, there's no right or wrong way to be anxious. It may present in people differently. So reassurance seeking, that we would maybe see from some of our kids when they ask you multiple times, are we gonna be okay? How do you know that this is gonna be safe? Things of that nature. Reluctance to separate from parents, as we talked about the reopening of school, that could have been felt by, you know, some of our families. It is a big transition back. Physical symptoms could be, you know, a different presentation of anxiety. Sometimes kids have a difficult time expressing with words what it is that's making them upset. And so it manifests physically, whether in a stomach ache or a headache, moodiness and irritability. So not just physical symptoms and aches, but kids tend to communicate with us through their behaviors. So having a short frustration tolerance, being a little bit moodier than usual, having more tantrums and meltdowns than they may have in the past, but also maybe having longer meltdowns or tantrums, or increased frequency of tantrums or meltdowns. Difficulty sleeping, that can be difficulty falling asleep. It could be difficulty staying asleep. Some kids may wake up because of nightmares, because of bad dreams. So you never know how it may look. And appetite changes. So sometimes children may eat less than they normally do. Sometimes they may eat a little bit more than they normally do. As well as difficulty concentrating. That can be in any type of environment. Certainly we could see that in school. It could also be at home. Maybe you're seeing that the kids are bouncing from one activity to another, as opposed to really being able to focus on what they're doing in that moment. So these are some signs that hopefully will help open your eyes a little bit, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Cremeni.
Hi everybody, I am Alyssa Cremeni. I'm a psychologist at Seaman Elementary School. I'm literally coming to you from Seaman Elementary School because I have a puppy at home that I didn't trust to be too quiet. So I'm going to give you some tips for your children, and maybe you can give me some tips for my puppy one day. Those signs that you saw of with all the anxiety that you may go through or your kids may go through, I'm sure a lot of them resonate with you. You or your child may be experiencing them right now as we speak. So how can you help ease some of this stress and anxiety that your kids are feeling? I'm going to go through some ways that you could support them. So the first thing is to provide lots of opportunities for questions and concerns. Sometimes we think we are protecting our kids by not talking about things or not telling them things, but the truth is kids worry more when they're kept in the dark. So think about it. You know, darkness is not scary because you see something, but because you're afraid of what you don't see. So invite your kids to ask questions, ask them open-ended questions, and don't be afraid to give them factual information about what is happening at their developmental level. Of course, you don't want to overwhelm them, but it's okay to be honest and let them know what's happening. It helps that they're not in the dark. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Please don't make something up. If you don't know the answer to something, get back to them when you have all accurate information. The 3 R's are things to keep in mind that just alleviate anxiety for kids in general. They are reassurance, which means kids have to feel safe. Routine, which is really important. It creates stability for kids, and it pertains to sleep routines and eating routines also. And regulation, which has to do with rules. And rules make kids feel safe. Some people think that when kids are anxious or stressed, you just throw out the rules, they go out the window. But really, structure and rules really become even more important to help them feel safe and less anxious. And by the way, the more your home rules align with the school rules, the more comfortable and less anxious they're going to be too. So if you always wear masks when you go out, you wash your hands often, you always keep 6 feet of distance, those school rules are not going to be as distressing to them because they're going to be exactly what they're used to. So you want to keep those rules very similar, and that will really help alleviate some of the anxiety. Validate, validate, validate. So this is just so important when a child comes to you and they express some anxiety. It's really tempting when kids are nervous about something that we just say, don't worry about it, nothing to be afraid of. But those words, they really don't help alleviate anxiety. I mean, have you ever stopped being anxious because someone told you to stop worrying? No, right? Nobody just gets over it because they tell you to. So what you want to do is reflect back how they feel and let them know that it's okay to feel that way, that you understand how they feel. And maybe even that sometimes you feel that way too. I mean, how much better did you feel when Dr. Schwartz said, it's okay not to be okay? Or when you saw that list of stressors in one of the earlier slides and you kind of all nodded and said, yeah, that's stressing me out. Yeah, that one's stressing me out. It was just really validating. And validation brings a sense of comfort. So for example, instead of saying to your child, don't worry about that, you can say something like, I see that you feel worried that you may not be able to keep your mask on all day. I feel like that too sometimes. So you're validating how they feel and you're not telling them just to worry about it, and that automatically takes some of the stress level down. You want to encourage positive thinking, what we also call as a growth mindset, and this is really our focus in schools too. Instead of getting anxious in situations, you want them to view challenges as an opportunity for growth and learning, whether it's academic or emotional, because that's really what resilience is all about, being able to persevere in the midst of something that's challenging. So a big aspect of anxiety is that kids think that something really bad is going to happen. But if they're hopeful and they're positive, the bad is really not as scary and really doesn't feel all that bad. So I always kind of say to the kids, you know, there are no big problems, just big solutions. That's the focus. The bigger the problem, the bigger the solution. We also want to focus on what they can control, because so much is out of our control, but there are things they can do to keep themselves safe, and that should be the focus. The hand washing, the sanitizing, the distancing, of course, the mask wearing, that will help to reassure them that they are doing everything they can do to keep themselves safe. Reframing and shifting. So this has to do with helping children change how they think. Anxiety itself doesn't come from the situation, it comes from how we think about the situation. It's our thoughts, it's that internal dialogue that is causing the anxiety. So two kids can go through the exact same situation and one is just unfazed while the other child feels really anxious. So the way we think about something really guides how we feel about it. If we want to help alleviate anxiety over the situation, we have to change that internal dialogue that the kids may be having with themselves. So for example, if a child has a lot of what ifs, you know, what if this is going to happen? What if this is going to happen? You may do that too as adults. Those what ifs can lead to a whole bunch of anxiety and unknown. We don't have answers for that. So if we replace the what ifs with even if, then we can answer that. And then we can reassure ourselves a little bit. So we can say something like, even if I can't hug my friends, I can still give them an air high five. So practice changing all those what ifs to even ifs, and we can answer those even ifs. We can't answer those what ifs. Another thing you could do to reframe thinking, it's actually great for kids and adults, is what's called best friend thinking. So if your child is really hard on themselves and very negative and very anxious about something, you can say something like, what would you say to your best friend if they felt like that? And everybody, children and adults, are so much harder on themselves than others. So when you shift the thinking to what would they say to someone else, that negative self-talk and anxiety often changes to more positive self-talk and reassurance. They would never scare a best friend. They would offer that reassurance and hope. So have your child reverse roles and talk to themselves like they're their own best friend. And this way they change that internal dialogue. They can reframe their thoughts into just more positive, encouraging ones. And you can practice that yourselves too. Just be kinder to yourself, and in general, just be your own best friend. So grounding techniques. If you find your child or yourself feeling very overwhelmed or anxious, kind of like in the midst of an anxiety attack, you can use what's called a grounding technique. And that just brings the focus back to the present moment awareness, and it helps regain a sense of calm. So one thing is called the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding experience. And what you would do in that moment of general anxiety, when your child can't focus, you would ask your child to name 5 things that they see, could be their hands, could be the ceiling, 4 things they can feel, like their mask, even their feet on the ground, 3 things they can hear, like the wind blowing, and 2 things that they could smell, like fresh cut grass or flowers, and then 1 thing that they can taste. It could be gum, it could even be the taste of fresh air. And focusing on these 5 things brings present moment awareness, and that could just snap them out of an anxiety attack. So that's just a little trick to keep in your back pocket if shit happened to you or your child. Leading by example is really important. Dr. Schwartz spoke about this a little bit. Here is where you really have to walk the walk, so to speak. So you are your child's role model, and they're going to look towards you to see how to cope. So this is why it's so important to put your own oxygen mask on first. So if you're frazzled, like that picture of that person in the earlier slide, and you haven't developed your own self-care routine and coping, then you're going to be at a loss to model it. But once you've found strategies that work for you, you can actually overtly model them for your kids and actually say them out loud. Like, I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now. I think I'm going to go for a long walk, or I'm going to call a good friend, or I'm going to participate in some yoga. So by actually saying that aloud, you're modeling it for your child, things that they can do when they're stressed and anxious. building resiliency and tolerating uncertainty. So in order to build resilient children and alleviate anxiety, they have to be able to tolerate uncertainty and change, because change and uncertainty is always going to be a part of life. And if we can have children learn to expect that and accept that at an early age, it really will alleviate anxiety whenever life throws them a curveball. I bet many of us are wishing that we would have mastered that as kids, right? Because that uncertainty now is sometimes just stifling. So sometimes I like to have a little word or a catchphrase that I say to a child or to myself just to remind me that I have to always be expecting change and uncertainty. And right now my word is pivot. You know, just reminding myself that I have to constantly change and redirect. And if something's not going in one direction, we're just going to pivot and we're going to just move in another direction. Yeah, of course, you can use different words, you can use different mantras, but you get the idea. As long as you focus on accepting and expecting change and uncertainty, the better they will be to manage future stress. So this is a little cheat sheet actually to help focus you on validating how your child feels and kind of reframing your words to your child. So instead of saying something like, don't panic, you can say, what can we do to help you in this moment? Instead of saying something like, calm down, you could say, I hear you. Instead of saying, it's not a big deal, you can say, I know this is difficult. And instead of saying, stop being so sensitive, you could say, how can I help? So you're changing the focus on just telling them not to worry to, okay, what can we do to get past this? I understand how you feel. So that's just a little cheat sheet that you can keep with you if you wanted to kind of print that out and have that around. These are activities for your children to help alleviate anxiety and stress, and it promotes a general sense of calm and well-being for them. The first thing is a gratitude journal. And the experience of gratitude is the building blocks of happiness. It just creates a sense of contentment and calm. It's hard to feel anxious and grateful at the same time. They're kind of like incompatible feelings. So the key to keep in mind here when your kids are creating those journals is that it helps if you focus on specific things that happen in a particular day rather than a general statement. So that way the journal could be sustainable. So when you model this for your child, as opposed to saying, I'm grateful for my family, which you could just say again and again every day and then it won't change, you could say something like, I'm so grateful for that conversation I had with my brother today. He made me feel so much better. So it's a specific gratitude that can change day by day and will be more sustainable to keep up the journal. And this gratitude is just more meaningful. Oh, by the way, this doesn't have to be in a journal. It could be a daily discussion over dinner that the whole family can share in. And remember, a lot of these strategies are good for kids and ourselves. We model them, the kids do them, and we are really all in this together. Mindful breathing, again, is something that is great for you and your child. Your breath is an anchor and you can have it with you wherever you go. So by taking some mindful breaths, your child can restore a sense of peace and calm into their body and prevent anxiety from just creeping in or just calm down when they're anxious. There are many different types of breathing techniques. The most important thing to remember is that when you want to calm the system, you have to make sure that your child breathes out longer than they breathe in. So they can count in for 3, and then out for 5. You can use your hands, for example, to take breaths. This is a good visual for them to breathe in and out, going up and down, in and out, breathe in and out, because they always have the hands on them. So you can use that to take deep breaths, going up and down each finger. It can be as simple as smelling the roses when you breathe in and blowing out the candles when you breathe out, and just make sure that they blow really big so all the candles go out, so they get that big breath out. And it could be done throughout the day at pre-planned times. It could be in the morning. It could be when they get home from school. It could be before they go to bed. It could even be when they feel really anxious. But the key to remember with that is that you should really practice it when the child is already calm, so that if they have to do it when they're anxious, they've already done it so many times that those breaths just come naturally. So make sure you're practicing it a lot when they're calm, and then it's a lot easier when they're anxious to take those deep breaths. The mindful nature hunt is taking a walk outside, paying really close attention to something in the natural environment that surrounds you. So you can have your child look for how many things you see with the color red. You can focus on how many different leaves you see during a nice full walk. Focus on listening to the birds, or even just focus on the feeling under your feet when you're walking. It's just being able to connect with the environment, and it really has a calming and relaxing effect on the body. And it also takes the focus off any worries in the moment. So connecting with nature is really proven to be just a natural stress buster for kids and for adults too. Body scans involve paying attention to parts of the body in a gradual sequence from head to toe. You basically have your child focus their attention on parts of their body from their head all the way down to their feet. They tighten and they release each muscle. They go through each body part and they notice if there's any aches or pains or tension. If it's there, they feel it and then they release it and just relax that part of the body. So with children, you can use many of those mindfulness apps and just search body scans. You don't have to be the one directing any of this. And you just have them follow along with the directions of the person leading the scan. It's great to do this with your child. You'd be surprised how you notice tension that you normally wouldn't even know until it's too late and you're hurting. I always find it in my neck, and if I don't pay attention to it, it goes to my head and then I get a headache. So those are really helpful just to relax your body and your child's body. You could do these together. And you would think that kids are so flexible that they don't have tension, but they really do report the same tension and tightness in similar ways that we do. And these are some apps for meditation and mindfulness. Again, it's great for kids and adults. There's Headspace, Stop, Breathe, and Think. Breathe, Think, Do with Sesame is a great one for the younger kids. There's so many different kinds that you can find, and it's really not an all or nothing. So you really should try different types of meditations with your child, because not everyone is good for every child. Some kids like kind of repetitive mantras, some like guided stories or guided visualizations. Still others like focusing on like breathing meditations. If you try one and your child doesn't like it, just don't give up. Try a different one, because same thing for adults. If one isn't resonating with you, just keep trying until you find one that's really calming and relaxing to you. Journaling is a great way for kids to reduce stress, gets out their feelings. They can write about anything, something positive or even something that concerns them for the day. It can be done with drawings for the young kids who really don't like to write. They could just draw. And if your child is journaling, I say keep those journals for your kids, especially this year. Save them, put them away, because years from now, looking back on those journals is going to be like reading history in the making. It's just a historical time, and it's just a great way that tells a story of kind of like what kids had to live through now. So if you're using journals with your kids, keep them, put them away. You're going to want them later on. And non-screen time activities are really important for two reasons. So one, so much of the world has become virtual. So as much as you can, you want to try and take the focus off of screen time with those face-to-face hands-on interaction like puzzles and games and baking and arts and crafts. And the second thing is, now that the kids are home more because a lot of things are canceled, we can falsely believe that we are with them more, but we're not. Present is not the same thing as your presence. So if you're home and feel like your child is acting out for attention, I really challenge you to think of it not as attention seeking, but more as connection seeking, and figure out how to fill that need for connection. Kids may be missing it more than ever at this time. So try and fill that need with some of these non-screen time activities. And the last is the acts of kindness and organizing community service activities. We touched a little upon this earlier on. It is true for kids as well as adults. When you involve your child with helping and serving others, it really gives them a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and just inner happiness. It automatically reduces stress level, and it just feels good. So whenever you can, volunteer, raise money, any of these types of community activities is just a great stress buster. These are some hotline and crisis resources that may be helpful to you. We're going to try and have these posted so they're available for everyone in the future. And that will bring us to the conclusion of our presentation. And we hope that you've learned some helpful tips and strategies for yourselves and for all your children. Who's taking it away?
Thank you. It was really informative. Thank you so much. Dr. Rivera, is there anything you would like to do add? Would you like to add anything? You're muted.
All right. You know, I say this to people in the building, you know, try not to take yourself too seriously. You know, try to understand that what we're going through, we're not alone in it, because the whole world is living through what we're living through right now. And what was shared, I think, is really important to take to heart, because ultimately, if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of each other. So, you know, thank you to the psychologist for sharing that information. And just thank you everyone for being here tonight. I was really glad to see everyone come out. So that was it for me, Sunmi. You give me a few words, you know, you give me an inch, I take a mile.
Great, thank you. Okay, we are adjourned. Bye, everyone. Have a good night. Sleep tight.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thanks for coming.
Rest
Thank
up.
you.
Bye now.
Night.
Great job, psychologist. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Get up and stretch. Stretch those legs.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right. I'm staying to the end, waving all of you away. Dr. Schwartz, thank you. All right. I'm saying goodbye. All right. Good night, everyone.